You know, I learned how to make my first martini back in the 1970s, where the 3 Martini Lunch was still a standard thing among the businessmen and women I served. Today that doesn't happen, mostly because of the attitudes towards daytime drinking. Well, it's frowned upon, and the lack of productivity after lunch is, debatable. Now, I don't recommend it, but if you've never experienced a liquid lunch like a 3 Martini Lunch, you don't know what you're missing. You know, there are a lot of theories on the origin of the martini with countless versions and recipes, like in the town of Martinis, California. The town actually advertises itself as the birthplace of the martini. In one version of the story, it was during the gold rush back in the 1870s, where a prospector struck it rich and decided to celebrate in a local bar. He ordered up champagne, but the bar didn't have any, so the bartender Julio Richelieu created a concoction, a potent blend of gin, vermouth, more than likely sweet vermouth, and a dash of orange bitters, poured over crushed ice and served with an olive. The martini was born, or in this case, the Martinez Special. The miner on his travels now ends up in San Francisco, where he orders this drink he had, and of course the bartender there didn't know how to make it. Now, there are many who reject this theory and believe that it was the father of American mixology, the famous bartender Jerry Thomas. He was working at the Occidental Hotel in San Francisco when he created a drink for a miner who wanted something special. It's said that the miner paid for the drink with a fistful of gold nuggets. Ah, yeah. Sure that ain't fool's gold? That'd be my first inkling. And the martini, or the Martinez cocktail, as it was known, was first published in Jerry Thomas's Bartender's Guide, How to Mix All Kinds of Plain and Fancy Drinks. What a great title, eh? Here's Jerry Thomas's recipe. Take 1 dash of Boker's bitters, 2 dashes of maraschino, 1 pony of Old Tom gin, 1 wine glass of sweet Italian vermouth, 2 small lumps of ice, shake up thoroughly and strain into a large cocktail glass. Put 1/4 of a slice of lemon in the glass and serve. If the guest prefers it very sweet, add 2 dashes of gum syrup. So, the miner was actually in San Francisco on his way to Martinez, and Jerry Thomas decided to name it after the town, Martinez. And let's not forget that the martini might also have originated in New York. Rumor has it that it was created in 1912 at the Knickerbocker Hotel. As the story goes, John D. Rockefeller walked into the Knickerbocker with a thirst on. A bartender by the name of Martini di Arma di Taggia whipped up a new drink for Rockefeller using gin, dry vermouth in equal parts, and orange bitters. Another legend of the martini claims that it was named for the Martini and Henry rifle, a breech-loading single-shot lever-actuated rifle used by the British Army for 20 years between 1870 and 1890. Finally, still others insist that the drink was named after Martini and Rossi vermouth, which was first created in the mid-1800s. Wherever the martini came from, we're glad it's here. Today I'm going to make the modern definition of a classic martini. But before we can do that, we have to take a look at the 5 most popular martini variations that I've had the pleasure of making over the years. You've got your 50-50. That uses equal parts of gin and vermouth. Sometimes sweet vermouth and sometimes dry vermouth is used. It's often referred to as a wet martini. Then there's the perfect martini, which uses equal parts of sweet and dry vermouth. A Gibson, which is a martini garnished with cocktail onions. The dirty martini. Ooh, dirty. Now this one I still make quite a few of them in the bar today. You add a small amount of olive brine to the mix and to make it dirty. Finally, we've got the extremely dry martini, where the bottle of vermouth is simply waved over the top of the glass. No, not really. One thing I want to explain though, a dry martini isn't the absence of vermouth in the drink. Oh, to some purists or fusspots it is, but it's more the fact that it's dry vermouth being used, not the lack of it. I mean, if you were to make a martini with little to no vermouth in it at all, it would simply be like drinking a glass of chilled gin. These days, though, the ratios are approached with much more subjectivity, and I think vary according to personal taste. You know, there are so many questions I have to ask my guests before I can even begin to make a martini. Questions like, would you like it up or on the rocks? Olive or lemon twist, gin or vodka, and of course, stirred or shaken. Damn that James Bond. Did you know that when you shake up a martini, it's often referred to as a Bradford? Okay, enough chatter. Let's do it. Let's make a dry martini the way I like to drink them. Ah, yeah, big ones. I got a new mixing glass here. Isn't it a beauty? Courtesy of my patrons on Patreon. I want to just thank you for that. And I also have a new podcast coming up very soon where we have live guests, 2 wacky girls I used to work with. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be wacky. Okay, let's make a martini. First thing we want to do is get some ice. Fresh ice. Fill it up. Oh yeah. Beauty. Lots of ice. Sweet. Now, gin. At least 2.5 ounces. Now, I like gin mare because, well, it's made with olives and rosemary and thyme and basil. And I just think it's a gorgeous gin. So again, 2.5 ounces. Dry vermouth. Vermouth comes from the German word vermouth, meaning wormwood. And Dolan vermouth, the Chambéry, has been made to the same recipe since 1821. It's made with a delicate wine base and selection of plants, spices, and alpine herbs. At 17.5% alcohol by volume, or 35 proof, this dry vermouth has a fresh, elegant nose with a subtle, complex palate. Also remember that any open bottle of vermouth should be used within the month and should be refrigerated upon opening. Keep it fresh. We want at least 1/2 ounce. And we stir. That's all it is. And you want to stir to dilute, and you want to stir to chill it up. I can feel a temperature changing in my glass here. Now you want to stir for about 20-30 seconds. Get her nice and chilled. You'll know. I mean, this glass is really cold now. Awesome. All right, let's grab a glass out of our freezer. All right, here we go. Oh, look at how wonderful that is. Now, all we do is just strain it out into our chilled glass. Sweet. Looking fine. Now, often you would just drop in an olive or put it on a pick. 1, 3, an odd number, because odd is lucky. What I like to do is fresh lemon rind. It's so much nicer, crisp. And we just want to rind this lemon without any white pith and kind of do it over top of the drink too, because you get those essential oils spritzing. I love the smell of fresh lemon. Nice. Okay. And we're just going to twist over top of our drink. Give it a little rim around the edge and drop her in. Oh, let's check this thing out. You get the lemon right away. Oh boy, that is so clean and crystal clear. Isn't that a wonderful thing? The king of cocktails. But you know, we need to make another version. Let's do the shaken version, just to compare them. Shaken. not stirred. James Bond style. Okay, let's get some ice in this thing. Lots of ice. And vodka. I like the Russian Gold Standard, 2.5 ounces. A lot of times you'll find vodka martinis shaken without any dry vermouth. But I like dry vermouth, so I'm gonna put some in. It's an optional thing. But like I said, a lot of times you'll find vodka martinis with no vermouth in them at all. All right, let's grab a lid and shake. Bond style. Get her nice and cold, crisp and clean. Oh yeah. Looking good. Grab our frozen glass out of the freezer and simply strain it out. Oh yeah. And in this case, I'm just gonna drop in an olive. Yeah. And you know, it's a little cloudy compared to our one made with gin, just from all that shaking and the air bubbles. Let's give it a go. There's even a little bit of ice on top from straining it. It's delightful, actually. I'm getting a little bit of salt from the olive. You may or may not like that. Now, olives have become synonymous with martinis. They add a little salty character to the drink. Some people like that. Now, martinis have been stirred from the beginning. And it wasn't until James Bond showed up, that they started shaking them. And there's a pop culture for you, eh? Now, whichever way you like your martini, stirred or shaken, you can't go wrong. It's the king of the cocktail, baby. I should give this a go. I don't know which one to have. Both! Martinis have been stirred since the beginning of time. Well,
since the beginning of time.
yeah, cave guys. Yeah, wait, you got a saber-tooth tiger? Where's my freaking ice? I'm on Patreon now. Yeah, for just a few dollars a month, you get access to things that nobody else sees. You get bloopers, you get podcasts, newsletters, and sneak peeks. You get a whole whack of stuff that you're gonna love. So become one of my booze hounds and help support the show. This stuff gets expensive, and every little bit goes back into the show. Thanks in advance. Vodka? Gin? Oh, I'm liking the gin one better because of all those wonderful botanicals. But hit the subscribe button, check some other videos out, and make yourself a martini. Either version, they're good. Love ya.